So let's get right down to business. First of all, I wanted to talk about my brand new layout on YouTube and my brand new style of videos because it looks like you guys wanted a brand new style of videos here on my YouTube channel, and I asked you guys, what do you want? Do you want shorter videos or do you want longer videos where they're like podcast style videos, kind of like a talk show where I just sit in front of the camera and pretty much talk about a lot of different news articles regarding tech and gaming? And a lot of people actually wanted that style and they said it would actually be good for this channel. So moving on forward into the near future, I am going to be trying this style out where I pretty much just sit in front of the camera and I talk about a lot of different tech articles, a lot of different gaming articles, and things like that. Right now, I do have to admit, you're watching this video and it doesn't look the best. It actually looks not the greatest, to be honest. I have to keep it real with you guys, but the thing is though, unfortunately, if I'm going to be doing this style video, at least for the meantime, I can't really record on my main high-tech camera. Unfortunately, I have to record on a different setup, and recording on a different setup does actually mean that you are going to get less quality, at least when it comes to my face and things like that. But in general, I don't think it's a big deal. It's still kind of really painful for me personally, just because I'm not too happy with the quality of my face right now. It does not look the best. But the thing is, it shouldn't necessarily be about the quality of my face. It should be more about me talking about the tech and the gaming news, and you can get some information that you may have not known existed, or maybe you just want to hear my thoughts and opinions on the world that we live in regarding tech and gaming. So that should be the main primary focus. But it does suck knowing that I'm a content creator here on YouTube and my quality is subpar because I really have no choice. And talking about the quality really quickly, I wanted to talk about why the quality is going to be like this and why I have to record like this specifically. So the main reason I have to record like this specifically is the fact that my main camera that I use for doing my normal YouTube in the past is a camera that actually limits me to how many clips I can actually do at a time. I think I can only do like 24-minute clips at a time, and if I was to do 24-minute clips at a time, I would have to combine each clip. I would have to put the article in there. Basically what I'm saying is I would have to do a lot of editing when it actually comes to these long style videos, and that's actually pretty that would actually be really draining, and it would be very time consuming, and it would just really suck. So in this format here that I'm going to be starting for these type videos that are like talk show style videos or podcast style videos, I'm going to be able to record all of the clips all in one sitting, so there won't be much editing to be done at all pretty much when it comes to this style. And then if I actually go ahead and do this style specifically, I'm also going to be able to show you the articles that I'm actually talking about, so you can see like the headlines of these articles. You can see some of the articles and things like that. I can pretty much switch to the articles at fly if I do this if I use this setup. But yeah, again, I do really apologize for the setup right here, because I know it's not the crispiest, it's not the best looking quality. That it's actually 100% worse than what I was using before. It does suck, but there isn't nothing I can really do about that. But yeah, we're going to be trying this style out for the near future, and this is going to be the first time I tried this new setup on my YouTube channel. Second of all, really quickly before I start today's video, I actually wanted to talk about something else. I actually wanted to talk about my podcast, because you guys may or may not know, I do actually run a podcast, but I think as of today, officially, if I'm going to be starting this channel and moving on into the near future like this, I don't think there's really any point to have that podcast out anymore. So I think as of today, it's officially going to be canceled, unfortunately, because like I said, I don't think there's any reason to actually run that podcast. And another reason why I really want to try this format is not just because you guys told me you're excited for this style video, is just the fact that I am a tech-centered and a video game-centered channel on YouTube, so I want to talk more about the news regarding the gaming, regarding the tech, because that's what my name is, My Tech News, and I want you to come here and hear my opinions about different tech articles, different gaming articles, and things like that. So that pretty much clears up everything that I pretty much wanted to talk about right before I started today's episode. But let's go ahead and start today's episode, because we have quite a few news articles to actually cover regarding tech and gaming. First of all, there is a new article out talking about Twitch specifically, and it's actually talking about how Twitch to top 40 million US viewers next year. Also, really quickly before I move on as well, I do have a 2-camera setup for this, so when I switch over to the articles, you'll still be seeing my face. Like I said, I have a 2-camera setup for this. But let's talk about Twitch, because I actually think this is actually very interesting. It kind of shows what people are into. It also shows the direction of entertainment overall. It's just very interesting. This article saying that by next year, we're going to be hitting 40 million US viewers next year on Twitch, which is actually very interesting. You can see right here, that's pretty much what this article is talking about. And yeah, that's actually pretty mind-blowing. It's actually interesting that a lot of people just want to sit down and watch people actually live stream, whether it's a video game being live streamed, whether it's something like someone just sitting in front of the camera talking about their day, talking about just different topics and things like that. Who would have actually thought in the internet of all things that streaming in general would actually be super popular? But I guess it does kind of make sense that streaming is becoming increasingly more popular, because we have outlets out there like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook that allow people to broadcast what they're doing. And a lot of people nowadays, it's already proven for like the last 3, 4, 5 years that video games are the most sold form of entertainment, and a lot of people love video games. And video games, as we speak right now, have already beaten things like the movie industry, the music industry, the book industry. You can see that video games are the most popular form of entertainment for a while now, so that does make sense. A lot of people want to see what other people are doing regarding video games. Not just people playing video games more and more each year, it seems like, and increasingly more and more money is being spent on the form of video games. Just the fact that, too, people want to actually talk to people. We live in a time now where maybe if, like, for instance, you're lonely, or you live by yourself, or you really don't have anyone to talk to at any time during the day, you can always turn on something like Twitch or YouTube and always find somebody that's willing to talk to you. And there is a lot of nice people on the internet who actually stream, and I think that's a big reason to why Twitch is going to be topping 40 million viewers. Just the fact that video games are increasingly very popular, and the fact that a lot of people just love that interaction. I can understand why so many people love that interaction. It's not just about watching somebody play a video game behind the screen. It's also that interaction. And even if you're not interacting with somebody, I do think they like just the vibe of it too, because they are talking to just different people. They're talking about their day. They're talking about their experiences. And I do think with something like, for instance, live streaming, you look at live streaming and then you look at something like the television and movie industry. The television and movie industry is such a different form of media, because it's not interactive media, and this is interactive media. And this is really also something we have not seen in our lives. I think the only time we've seen this in our lives was last decade, and the internet's been around for a little while now, so that's actually pretty interesting that this is still honestly a very new form of media. So I can see why Twitch streaming will become increasingly more popular. Whether this forecast is right or not, it is actually very interesting that Twitch is actually going to be topping 40 million viewers, at least here in the US. And I know the game industry as a whole is very popular worldwide, on top of the gaming industry being popular worldwide. Of course, in America, video games are very popular. The internet's very popular, so it does make sense. But that is still a very crazy number if you actually think about it. If you think about Twitch, if you think about the internet, if you just think about everything, 40 million viewers would actually be crazy. Of course, this number would actually probably be more if there were more people on the website that were actually big, because there used to be a couple of people on the actual Twitch platform that were actually big streamers. Like, for instance, we had Ninja, we had Valkyrie, I think her name is, and then we had some other people on the Twitch platform. But yeah, they did end up moving over. But even if it can still pull in 40 million viewers by next year here alone in the US, and that's not even taking into consideration how many more viewers that you would have in other countries that do watch Twitch, because of course it is a worldwide website and a lot of different people can actually access Twitch. Of course, that number is going to be even sky high when it comes to how many millions of views it's going to have by next year, which is actually very interesting. So yeah, that is actually a very interesting number. Who would have thought live streaming, just sitting behind a camera actually playing a video game, would actually be super popular, and so many people would want to be invested in this form of media. Now, the next thing on the list is not too interesting, but we do have an article here actually talking about the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. Of course, you guys know about the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. The Samsung Galaxy Z Flip came out, I think, a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago, basically, and a lot of people are talking about the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip, and I think the foldable phone market is a very interesting form of technology, just because it's fairly new, and who would have thought in 2019, 2020, in the future that we live in, we would actually be getting things like foldable phones. And it is actually pretty mind-blowing if you think about it, how a phone now can pretty much just fold in half, and you can actually put these phones in your pocket and then open them up and get a bigger screen and things like that to make them a little bit more portable than, say, your normal traditional smartphone. This article is not really talking about this. It is talking about the Z Flip. If I go back to the article, it is talking about the Z Flip, but more specifically with this article, it is actually talking about how the Galaxy Z Flip is actually sold out. I think, here in the US, and that's actually very interesting, because who would have thought a lot of people would be interested in this phone and in foldable phones in general, because you do have to realize foldable phones are just very expensive. They're some of the most expensive phones out there. You look at something like last year's Galaxy Fold. The Galaxy Fold, I think, was nearing $2,000, and then this one's around, I think, $1,600 or $1,400. Either way, what I'm saying is they're just very expensive phones for what they are. But I'm not really too surprised, because a lot of people want to try something different, and you do have to realize as well, this doesn't really tell the whole story. We don't know how many Samsung Galaxy Flips were actually sold, because they did say it was in limited quantity when they released the Galaxy Z Flip. And then, of course, a lot of people who are buying these aren't actually consumers. They're actually like reviewers here on YouTube and on the internet through like websites who want to review the phone, of course. So that really doesn't tell how successful this phone is actually right now. It just means maybe they didn't ship enough phones, or maybe a lot of reviewers actually bought this phone to review, but not a lot of like mainstream, like average consumers actually bought this phone. But I just thought it was interesting either way that the Galaxy Z Flip is actually sold out as of the recording of this video. If you're watching this video in the future, of course, this phone is already going to be sold, already going to be back in stock most likely. But yeah, just very interesting that people are willing to give this phone a try. But I guess it is a new form of a smartphone. It is a new form factor also for the folding phones. Prior to this, we had the Galaxy Fold, and then we had another phone that was made by, I think, some Pi company, I do believe. They also had one like the Galaxy Fold. It was kind of similar. The one that's like this, of course, is going to be the Motorola Razr. The Motorola Razr pretty much shares the same form factor as this foldable phone, but yeah, just very interesting to say the actual least, basically. Now, the next one on my list is actually an article that I'm actually kind of torn about, but it is actually an interesting article to say the least. It looks like Hasbro is going to be relaunching the classic Tiger electronic gaming handhelds. Here is the classic gaming handhelds from Hasbro and Tiger Electronics. Here we go, right here. If I can bring this up somehow, it's not wanting to come up. Don't know why the article is not wanting to come up. Shoot. But anyway, you get the point. You guys may have remembered back in the 80s and 90s, they had these things called Classic Tiger electronic gaming handhelds. And basically what they are, they're basically just a portable video game, but it only plays one game. And you guys may remember the Tiger electronic games. They pretty much only had one game, and they always made these different handhelds for one game, and the screen wasn't good. The fact that it used batteries, the batteries always took a drain, the screen wasn't good. If you, like, for instance, scratched the screen on the actual device, it was hard to see it. You had to be in certain lighting conditions. It pretty much just lit different parts of the screen to make the action on the screen. So overall, it just really wasn't a good form of media. And overall, it's just not the best concept, but it is kind of cool. They are bringing this back for a throwback, and I did play these a long time ago. Of course, they're not worth buying, to be honest. If you already own things like maybe a 3DS or maybe a Switch, or heck, even if you own some type of Game Boy, honestly, I would say that this thing's still not worth buying, even if you had like the original Game Boy, because these things lack in quality compared to things like that. But they were cool for the time, and they are kind of nostalgic, and I can actually see why some people out there may be looking at this and saying, I actually want to buy one of these because I remember owning it as like a kid or owning it as a teenager, or maybe you just want to get it for like collecting purposes, like I said, and you don't really care about playing it because honestly this thing is going to be inferior to things like the Switch, 3DS, heck, even games on your smart device like your smartphone or your tablet. So yeah, it is interesting. It looks like from this article alone they are going to be having a couple of different games. They'll be focusing on The Little Mermaid. I think the Little Mermaid game, as far as I'm aware, because I did check this prior to actually recording, and the Little Mermaid is actually a game I think right now from Tiger Electronics you can actually buy from GameStop right now, so that's interesting. I think these things are going for, let me see, I don't think in the article it tells you, oh yeah, $14.99. So that's not, I guess, too bad for a thing like this, especially if you're like nostalgic or you're just a collector and want to have one of these. You do have to remember these are going to be brand new, and if you were, like, for instance, to buy one of these for yourself and actually try to play it, most likely it's going to be very damaged, the screen, or it's going to be missing the battery case. So it is nice if you wanted to play one for like a joke or whatever, or just for if you really wanted to play one, I guess, you are going to be able to buy them new. But like I said, they're going to have The Little Mermaid, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Transformers, Generation 2, and X-Men Project X. Will they be making more in the future? There's no way to know if this is just going to be like a test run, or they're going to be making more in the future for the Hasbro Tiger Electronic games. But yeah, I think it's actually a pretty cool, I guess, that they're re-releasing these now. Really quickly, before you think about buying one of these, I will have to say that even though if you read this article it says like you're getting Sonic Hedgehog 3, be careful, these are again not the same quality as something like actually playing like Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis or a Sonic Collection or anything like that. So keep that in mind when you're going to buy this. It's not going to be the full Sonic the Hedgehog game. These things only have a couple buttons on them, and you do the same like boring or the same repetitive game over and over, and they're very short and they're very boring. So just keep that in mind when you're actually trying to think about actually buying those. But yeah, next article we have here is Apple may be open to letting users set their own default apps. And I actually think this is actually kind of interesting because it really does show that Apple is kind of opening up to the consumer a little bit. You know, when you go to iPhone or when you go to the iPad, you're pretty much going to be locked into what Apple wants you to do on their smart devices or their mobile devices. And this looks like they are kind of changing their tune with this if they actually allow you to change your default app. So basically what this is actually saying is, you guys know maybe if you get like a link or a URL and like a text message or like an email, and you go to click on it, once you go to click on it, it always defaults you to like Safari or the Apple Mail application if you have like an email or something like this. But it looks like they're trying to change their tune. So like on Android, if you were to click on a link like in a text message or on a document or something, and you go to click on it, before it opens it up, it allows you to choose, let's say for instance, what application you actually want to open the text message in, or open like the document in. They give you options, but on iOS it was just honestly never an option. So that is nice. They are trying to do that. Is this actually going to work in the long run? There's no way if this thing is actually going to work in the long run when it comes to Apple actually letting users choose their own default apps. I would see why for the longest time Apple as like a company wouldn't want you to actually choose your own default apps, because if Apple actually allowed you to choose your own default apps, it wouldn't be good for the company, because the main reason why they would want to force you to use their built-in apps on iOS like Safari or the Apple email application or whatever application that's default from Apple is the fact that they are trying to make you stay in their ecosystem, and they really want you to use their applications, because let's face it, for instance, like if you're forced to like click on a link and it takes you to Safari, you are stuck in Safari, and that is going to be good for Apple, because that means most likely they are going to be able to track what you're doing. It's a sad world we live in, but it is true. They will be able to track what you're doing, on top of them being able to track what you're doing. Let's say for instance, they're probably making money off you as well when you actually go to things like Safari and Apple email and things like that. They are going to be getting paid, because maybe they had like ads running on like Safari and they're getting a cut of those ads, and of course when they track you, they may be actually selling your data to other people, even though the companies always say like, oh yeah, we're protecting your personal data and we're protecting your location, we're protecting your tracking and things like that, and we're not going to sell your data, we're not going to do all of these different things. Truly behind the scenes, time and time again, it is proven you really never know what companies are actually going to be doing with things like your data and things like all your tracking history and just things like that. So you truly never know, and that's why they want to keep you on their platform and keep you on their dedicated applications in iOS on the iPhone. But like I said in this article, it is saying they may, the big key word here is may. They may be letting users set their own default apps. Of course, may doesn't actually prove anything. It may or may not be true. We'll have to wait to see in other iterations of iOS if they're actually going to allow it. They could actually open up. It's not actually impossible. And even if they did allow, let's say, a lot of users to actually open up and actually choose their default application for like the web browser, mail, music, whatever the case may be, of course, a lot of people wouldn't do it anyway, so they still would be getting a cut of people or just different things about you if you didn't choose your own app. Because I know a lot of people out there who use things like smartphones really don't know how to use the full smartphone. They know how to like browse the web, they know how to check email, but time and time again it is proven a lot of people just don't know how to use their smartphone, and they only know how to do the basic tasks. But either way, this is good for people who are on iOS, because that means you're not stuck to like going to use Safari. If you like clicked on a link, or like if you clicked on an email and things like that, it wouldn't default you to the built-in Apple application. So that is nice. They may actually be allowing you to do that in the near future. So let's go ahead and move on. Here's one that's interesting. It looks like HTC's Project Proton is a preview of its next-gen VR headsets. The key word here, of course, is headsets. And it looks like right here we are going to be having two headsets from HTC. And of course, HTC has been making headsets for quite some time. They've been making the Vive headsets. I think they're one of the first companies to actually make headsets on the market. You can see right here from this article. I like the actual design of the actual headsets. If you look at both headsets, because there is two headsets that they are currently developing, it looks like both headsets here are kind of cool. I actually really do like the design of these headsets. You look at both of the headsets; they kind of remind me of fly eyes, or fly eyes pretty much. If you ever seen like a fly up close, they look kind of interesting. Like I said, I like the design of these, because the design of these really do look futuristic, and I think they look okay. Some people may not like it, and some people may like it. Of course, it's very controversial. Do you like the design of these or not like the design? But I like the design of these, and it looks like they're going to have two of them. The first one right here looks like it's going to be more centered, as far as I'm getting. It's going to be more centered on something like the Oculus Quest. You guys may have heard of the Oculus Quest. The Oculus Quest is a VR headset, and the VR headset from Oculus Quest actually is a standalone VR headset, which is actually a very cool VR headset if you ever use that one, because you don't have to plug it into things like your PC or plug it into like a game console or anything like that. You can actually use it as a standalone headset. All the components are basically in the headset. The best thing I can think about when I think about the Oculus Quest is pretty much a VR headset that pretty much runs on the mobile the mobile chipsets. Basically what it boils down to, it's pretty much a device that pretty much has a smartphone built into the headset, and apparently this one, that's what this one's pretty much going to be. As far as I'm seeing, it's pretty much going to be competing on the likes of the HTC or the Oculus Quest, which is going to be nice because it does make sense. Vive would actually want to be invested in something like this, because if you look at VR headsets as a whole, the most popular VR headset without a doubt is the Oculus Quest, and it does make sense. The Oculus Quest is one of the most popular headsets on the market for a number of different reasons. First of all, it's very user-friendly, especially if you're not into VR. You don't have to hook up a lot of different cables. You don't have to have a very expensive gaming PC. Basically, the barrier to entry with the Oculus Quest is very, very minimal. You just buy the thing, you just set it up, and boom, you're good to go. And the fact that it's very convenient as well. You can use the thing wherever you are. It comes with really solid controllers in the box. Overall, it's just an amazing headset, so I can see again why they're actually trying to compete with it. The only one thing I am actually kind of worried about this headset is I'm actually curious about the durability, or not the durability, the comfort level of this headset, because you can see unlike the Oculus Quest has all the electronics in the front of the headset, so basically in the visor section, but this one looks like it's going to have all the components to the actual headset on the actual back of the actual headset right there. That's why there's a big box on the back of the actual headset right there on the picture where I'm moving my mouse, but there it is. So that's really the big key difference. But so far I really do like the design of that one. And then right here they're going to have a more traditional headset where you can see that there's going to be a wire coming out of the headset, and the wire coming out of the headset, of course, is going to be for you to like plug into a PC or plug into some device right there. Honestly, it's already kind of proven now. More and more people are gravitating to the more convenient option and the cooler option without any wires, without any thing. Everything's just built in. And I think this one over time would succeed. I'm not saying people don't buy these ones, because obviously with you having to plug into a PC, you are going to be getting things like better frame rates, better resolutions. Games will just be bigger. Overall, you'll be getting a better experience if you have one that's not a dedicated VR headset. But for me personally, time and time again, I'm okay with things like VR headsets that are all-in-one pieces, because I think convenience does win out. Even if you're playing things like mobile-esque games compared to things like you'd be playing on Steam and playing on your computer, or playing on something like a PlayStation, it's just very convenient to have things like that. And yeah, overall, I'm pretty excited to see these headsets. And I am one person that's actually a very big fan of things like VR technology, because I do own something like the PlayStation VR headset. I've never really tried anything else, but I do like VR. I think it's very cool, it's very interesting, and I'm glad companies out there today are still really focusing on things like VR, because I do think the future is VR, and I'm really looking forward to see where they're taking VR. It always seems like they're making pretty big improvements to the VR technology and things like that. So let's go ahead and actually talk about the next one on the list. It looks like Sling. You may know Sling TV in America. I don't know how many countries Sling TV is actually in. It's actually also, if you're unfamiliar, Sling TV is actually a subdivision of Dish Network. So it is part of Dish Network. And if you don't know anything about Sling TV is actually a cable subscription. It is a subscription where you can watch TV. You can watch basically live TV, so it is like a cable subscription. Some people who don't know about this will compare this to things like Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus, but actually it's pretty much just your cable subscription. But the nice thing about Sling TV is, first of all, it is an extremely cheap service. The base one's only like $30. I think they actually bumped the price of it. That's also kind of why this article is basically saying that Sling TV is actually losing subscribers, because they did recently bump the price up to $30, and the base package was, I think, $25, but you can see even $5 will make a lot of people not have enough money, because even though a lot of times people say, oh, $5 is not a lot of money, 5 is 5, and you shouldn't be doing stuff, or you shouldn't be considering this stuff if you can't afford it. But it is true though, $5 could make or break somebody, and I think that it really does show that them kind of like upping the price to $5, upping the price $5 more really does show that a lot of people just can't afford it. Or maybe you thought it was a good deal at $25, but for instance, now that it's going up $5 more, you just don't see the benefit of paying $5 more, because you do have to take in consideration that a lot of people are paying for so many different subscription services, whether it's things like Sling TV, whether it's Hulu, Netflix, Xbox Games Pass, membership to like a gym. We're paying for so many memberships in 2020. It's just absolutely ridiculous. You look at the average consumer of the internet, and the average consumer is just buying a lot of subscriptions, whether they use them or not. And like I said, that $5 extra that they did recently increase the price could actually be a big make it or break it for a lot of people. But yeah, reports do say that Sling TV subscribers, they're losing Sling TV subscribers, and this is the biggest hit they've actually had for Sling TV, and I can see why. For the price increase, and then on top of the price increase for Sling TV, you do have to take in consideration that a lot of people already seen a lot of these different TV shows that already been on the air for quite some time. Because if you look at traditional cable channels really don't change their programming all too often, and that's a really big reason to why people unsubscribe. It's not necessarily for the fact that they're kind of expensive, especially if you compare them to things like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. That is actually also one of the problems here. One of the main problems here as well is it's not just the fact that Sling TV is actually increasing their price. It's just the fact that they are competing in a space with there's other options that are cheaper, like Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, yada yada yada. And with all those different subscription services in the mix, this is kind of expensive, and especially if you've already seen everything on cable TV, it's like, what's the point of actually buying this thing? But it is a good service for people like Live TV, but Live TV is becoming kind of a thing of the past, and it really doesn't make sense to have Live TV, since a lot of these cable companies show the same show over and over and over, and they really don't have new ideas. Or maybe the one show, like for instance Discovery Channel showing, for instance, it's not like they can't come up with a new show to show their audience. It's just that they're only showing that one show for the most part over and over for like a 6-hour stretch, is due to the fact that, well, it's the one that makes them the most money, and it's the one that a lot of consumers are actually watching. But yeah, Live TV looks like it could be in trouble. Of course, a lot of people are unsubscribing, and now we hear reports of Sling TV actually losing subscribers for the first time. They really need to figure out everything. I know with the basic I think package that Sling TV actually has to offer, they do give you things like the DVR. On top of that, no matter what package you get from Sling TV, you also get things like on-demand content. The on-demand content on Sling TV, honestly, in my opinion, I've seen it, I've used it, I can say it's definitely hit or miss. They have some stuff here or there, but in general it's hit or miss. It doesn't really compete with things like Netflix originals or Hulu. And you do have to realize as well, there are other ways to get live TV, and a lot of different companies have different packages as well. I think Hulu has a live TV option besides their on-demand content, and besides Hulu, we have things like YouTube TV. YouTube TV does have their own packages as well, and then you do have to take in consideration all those different cable companies that are actually normal cable companies have to offer. So yeah, very interesting that Sling TV is actually losing subscribers, and I'm honestly not really too surprised about the news about Sling TV actually losing subscribers. And then finally, the last article on today's episode is actually going to be about TikTok. TikTok announces a brand new feature for TikTok where basically it's called Family Safety Mode. And Family Safety Mode, of course, just like the name implies, is going to be a mode on TikTok that's pretty much going to allow you to control what your kids actually do on TikTok, how long your kids could actually be on TikTok, what type of content they can actually be on TikTok. And I'm actually glad these companies are trying to implement all these different like parental controls and these safety controls to different users out there, because you can never really truly know what your kids are actually doing on the internet. And sometimes even if you know what they're doing on the internet, you can still truly never know what they're doing on the internet, because now in the day and age that we live, and with the internet actually becoming much more accessible, and I know some people out there start giving their kids at a very young age things like smartphones, tablets, laptops, just all these different forms of media. It's very easy for kids to stumble on to the wrong thing, and it does suck that sometimes you can't truly control what your kids does. And some of these applications like TikTok, for instance, didn't even implement something like parental controls for parents. So I am actually glad that they're finally implementing parental controls to parents on the actual TikTok. And I do believe more actual websites need to implement some type of safety mode, even if the parents use it or not use it. It's not up to the actual company to be in trouble if, like, for instance, you implement all of these parental controls but the parents don't use it. It should be up to the parents. Of course, you could just say, well, don't actually put your kid on TikTok, because by, for instance, putting your kid on TikTok, they are going to be at risk at seeing God knows what type of thing they can actually stumble upon on TikTok. And you do have to realize with social media as a whole, whether it's things like watching YouTube, being on Facebook, being on Instagram, being on Twitter, and of course TikTok becoming much more popular, you never really know what's out there, and you never know what type of content your kid is going to stumble on when it comes to websites like this. But yeah, I am glad, like I said, they are implementing this to the apps, and I just wish more and more websites and more companies would actually implement these family safeties, whether it's things like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, game consoles, anything that pretty much has a website maybe, or a dedicated application anyway. They should allow users to be able to filter out certain things. And it is especially more dangerous to your kid, especially when they're on a website that actually has videos, because you never know what type of videos they are going to get to. And sometimes they're very controversial, sometimes they are R-rated, sometimes they're just very bad. And especially when your kid's very young, and a lot of parents don't understand, they just give their kid like a smartphone at a very young age, and their brain's not developed, they can run into the wrong thing, and then their brain could be messed up for a while, or they could see stuff at a very young age that does traumatize them in the long run, and overall it's just not great. But hopefully by having these safety modes in place on things like TikTok, it should actually help, and it is better than nothing. And yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for this video. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.